what I did not know about you initially is that you used to be a musician like myself. I see the guitars in the background, and it's funny, man, because like sometimes I'll talk to my business partner Nicole, and she'll look at me and she'll make a face, and I'll go, "What's going on with you?" She goes, "I keep forgetting you were like a guy who played guitar in a punk rock band, and you were never meant to be in business and finance. And so you have this other personality that sometimes like it doesn't fit the model for the normal guy that comes in like that. And so I find it very interesting that you came in from that background because it's a totally different perspective than the average guy who comes in through the business side of it. So talk a little bit about that because I'm always interested to see, was there anything from the background in music that has helped you translate to success in business or with people?
Absolutely. And you know what? You're absolutely right. And I love finding the outliers like us. There's always the people who, and I don't mean any disrespect, the people who come down the sort of traditional paths. They were to work in corporate or whatever. Hey, great, but that wasn't me, and I suspect it wasn't you. And yeah, I mean, so I was actually a classically trained musician. I started in the conservatory when I was very, very young, and worked my way up. Did a bachelor's, master's, and most of a PhD in music. Conducted orchestras, wrote for orchestras and chamber music, and on the side, of course, because you can't make any money doing that. I was playing, I was doing session work, or I was playing in heavy metal bands on the side, or, all that sort of thing. And there's no question that being a musician gave me a number, my journey through music absolutely led to the success I've had in business. One, from a pure confidence point of view, you can't be on stage singing, playing, and doing all that and not have an element of confidence to you. Even if it's faked some of the times, depending. There's no question about that. But also, actually, it's so funny. And I was talking to actually Raphael, our mutual acquaintance, Raphael Cortez. I was
Great
talking to him
guy.
about this. Great guy. I hung out with him in Phoenix a couple weeks ago, and we spent the afternoon eating tacos and having beer. It was great. It was a perfect afternoon. But I was talking to him about this and because when I was doing my PhD, I had sort of developed a three-dimensional way of analyzing music. And of course, I'm talking about more classical music at this point, or instrumental music of that kind. And I developed this as part of my PhD, sort of a theoretical model, because most people analyze music, and it turns out business, in a very two-dimensional way. Most people think of it as horizontal, so that is melody and rhythm, vertical, so that is harmony and pitch. And that's how we're traditionally taught to analyze music. And I had kind of come, because I was conducting and I was writing music, music for orchestras, etc. I sort of realized that a huge part of the analysis needed to be that third axis, which is how different parts relate to each other, because that's an intrinsic part. We don't think of it as a theoretical way, but it really is a theoretical way, because how parts of the whole interact has an enormous impact on the quality and what it is. And so when I started in business with zero credibility, zero experience, and all that, I started by writing strategies for companies, and but I had this grounding, or this theoretical concept that I developed, and it worked perfectly in business, and it was a very different way than other most people were thinking, and because of that, I was able to kind of establish and grow a presence in that kind of business consultancy, strategic consultancy element, because the music side gave me an insight and a way of thinking that nobody else in the room had. And I think that probably for you, like for us who come from those kind of slightly weirder backgrounds, I think you usually come with an angle and a view that most people don't have, and so that becomes a very valuable insight.